The holding cell smelled like burnt copper and regret. Sergeant Marcus Cole sat against the far wall, legs stretched out, hands resting on his knees. Blood crusted on his knuckles. His left eye was swollen shut, and a deep cut traced his jawline. Around him, 7 alien guards stood in a semicircle, plasma rifles aimed at his chest. Their translator implants crackled with nervous chatter. "The human is still conscious," one of them hissed. His name was Vex, according to the nameplate on his armor. "Protocol states another sedation round." "We used 4 already," another guard replied. Her voice carried an edge of fear. Command said no more. The drugs might kill it. Marcus smiled through split lips. "Oh, you worried about me? That is so sweet." Vex's 3 eyes narrowed. "Silence. Primate." "Primate," Marcus repeated, testing the word. "You know what? Fair. But this primate just took down 12 of your buddies with his bare hands, so maybe show some respect." The guards shifted. Their weapons hummed louder. Marcus could see the fear in their body language, the way their tentacles twitched, the way their breathing sacs inflated and deflated too quickly. Good. Let them be afraid. 6 hours earlier, everything had been different. The UES Vela had been conducting a routine patrol near the Epsilon sector when the distress signal hit. A colony transport, the Morning Star, had been boarded by raiders, pirates from the KRYLL syndicate. The crew had been taken hostage, including 4 to 7 civilians. Men, women, children. Captain Rivera had assembled a strike team within minutes. 12 Marines, full combat gear, ready to breach and rescue. Marcus had been checking his rifle, running through the pre-mission checklist, when Rivera pulled him aside. "Cole, I need you to understand something," the captain said. Her dark eyes were serious. "These KRYLL, they have a reputation. They do not take prisoners unless they plan to sell them. And humans? We fetch a high price in the outer markets." Marcus had nodded. "We bring everyone home." That is the plan." But plans, as Marcus had learned over 15 years in the Corps, had a habit of going sideways. The breach had gone smooth. Too smooth. They had entered through the cargo bay, moved through the corridors in perfect formation. Thermal scan showed the hostages grouped in the main deck, 30 KRYLL guards surrounding them. Standard setup, textbook rescue scenario. Then the doors had sealed behind them. The EMP pulse had hit like a sledgehammer. Every piece of electronic equipment died instantly. Rifles, dead. Communication systems, dead. Armor sensors, dead. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in red. "Trap," Corporal Lynn whispered beside him. That was when the KRYLL appeared. Not 30, 300. They poured out of side corridors, ventilation shafts, hidden compartments. Wave after wave of them, all armed, all ready. Marcus had been the first to drop his rifle. The electronic trigger was fried. The weapon was just dead weight. Around him, his team scrambled, trying to switch to backup weapons, trying to find anything that worked. "Hand to hand," Marcus shouted. "Go old school." The KRYLL had laughed. Actually laughed. Their clicking, chittering voices filled the corridor. Humans without weapons. One of them had said, stepping forward. He was bigger than the others, armor decorated with kill marks. "You are nothing. Weak. Soft. Easy prey." Marcus had cracked his knuckles. "Well, let me educate you." The first KRYLL to rush him learned quickly. Marcus had sidestepped a clumsy attack, grabbed the creature's arm, and used its own momentum to slam it face first into the wall. The satisfying crunch of chitin breaking echoed through the corridor. He followed up with an elbow to the back of its head. It dropped. 2 more came at him. Marcus ducked under a wild swing, drove his fist into the first one's thorax, felt ribs snap under his knuckles. The second one tried to grab him from behind. Big mistake. Marcus threw his head back, connected with the creature's face, spun around, and delivered a brutal uppercut that lifted it off its feet. Around him, his team followed suit. Lynn had been a boxer before joining the Corps. She moved like water, every punch precise, every movement calculated. Sergeant Hayes, 260 pounds of muscle, was literally throwing KRYLL across the corridor. Private Chen, small and fast, darted between enemies like a ghost, striking no clusters and joint weaknesses. But there were too many. For every KRYL that fell, two more appeared. The Marines fought brilliantly, savagely, but numbers eventually told. Hayes went down first, overwhelmed by 6 KRYL. Then Chen. Then Lin. Marcus kept fighting. A KRYL came at him with a blade. Marcus caught the wrist, twisted until something snapped, took the blade, and drove it through the creature's armor. He moved to the next target, then the next, operating on pure combat instinct. Punch, block, kick, break. The world narrowed to immediate threats and immediate responses. He did not know how long it lasted. Minutes? Hours? Time became meaningless. All that mattered was survival. All that mattered was taking as many of them down as possible. When they finally subdued him, it took 20 KRYL. 20. They piled on him, binding his arms and legs with energy restraints. Even then, he managed to break one's jaw with a headbutt. Now, in the holding cell, Vex stepped closer. His weapon never wavered. You killed 15 of my crew. 15. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Hey, felt like more. Your team killed 43 more before they were subdued. Vex continued. How? How did soft, weak humans do this? Marcus leaned back against the wall. You want the truth? You really want to know? Speak. Evolution, my friend, Marcus said. See, on Earth, humans did not start at the top of the food chain. We clawed our way there. Literally, every predator on our planet wanted to eat us. So we adapted. We learned to run. We learned to climb. We learned to fight. And most importantly, we learned to improvise. Vex translators struggled with some of the words, but the meaning came through. You are still weak compared to most species. Weak? Marcus laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. Let me tell you something about weakness. Humans heal from injuries that would kill most species. We can go days without sleep when we need to. We sweat, which means we can run longer than almost any predator. Our hands. He held up his blooded fists. These were designed for precision, tool-making, but they worked just fine for breaking things too. This is propaganda, another god said. Human exceptionalism. Is it? Marcus shifted position. Tell me, how many of your people did it take to bring down one unarmed human? 20? And my team of 12 took out how many of yours? 60? 70? You had weapons. We had nothing but our bodies and our training. The silence that followed was telling. The gods exchanged glances. Their translator implants buzzed with private communications. Vex finally spoke. It does not matter. You are captured. Your team is captured. The hostages are still ours. You have achieved nothing. Marcus smiled again, and this time there was something dangerous in that expression. Something that made the gods take an involuntary step back. See, that is where you are wrong, he said softly. You think this is over. You think you won. But you just made a critical mistake. What mistake? You let us live. Before anyone could respond, the lights went out. Complete darkness. The gods shouted, their weapons whining as they tried to acquire targets. Emergency systems kicked in, but something was wrong. The power kept flickering. Marcus moved. The energy restraints on his wrist had been loosening for the past hour. He had been working on them, slowly, methodically, applying pressure at specific points. All it took was one final surge of strength, and they snapped. He was on Vex before the lights came back on. His hands found the god's throat, fingers digging into the soft tissue beneath the chitinous plating. Vex gurgled, dropped his weapon. Marcus caught it midday, reversed his grip, and fired. 3 shots, 3 guards down. The remaining guards opened fire. Marcus dove, rolled, came up firing. The plasma rifle felt wrong in his hands, the balance off, the trigger mechanism designed for different fingers. But he made it work. He always made it work. 2 more guards dropped. The last one ran for the door, screaming into his communicator. Marcus let him go. Better to spread the fear. He checked Vex's body, found the access key for the cell, and grabbed extra ammunition. His reflection in the polished metal wall was barely recognizable, covered in blood, both his and theirs. eye swollen, jaw bruised, but his hands were steady. Time to go get his team. The corridor outside was chaos. Alarms blared. Red light strobed. KRYLL ran in every direction, some toward the armory, others toward escape pods. Something had them spooked. Marcus moved against the flow, heading deeper into the ship. The holding cells would be near the main deck, standard layout for captured vessels. He knew this ship. The Morning Star had been Oath designed before it was sold to the civilian sector. He had studied the schematics during the briefing. 2 KRYLL guards blocked the corridor ahead. They saw him raise weapons. Marcus did not slow down. He fired twice, dropped both, and kept moving. Behind him, he could hear more guards converging. Let them come. A voice crackled over the ship's intercom system. Human voice. Familiar. Attention, all hostiles. This is Captain Sarah Rivera of the United O Space Command. Your ship is surrounded by 3 destroyers and a carrier group. You have 60 seconds to release all hostages and surrender, or we will open fire. This is your only warning. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. The cavalry had arrived. Better late than never. He rounded a corner and found what he was looking for. The holding cells. Rows of them, energy barriers glowing blue. Inside, he could see his team. Lynn was pacing, agitated. Hayes sat against the wall, nursing his ribs. Chen was doing push-ups. Of course he was. The control panel was beside the door. Marcus approached it, tried to access the release mechanism. Locked. Encrypted. It would take time to crack. Time he did not have. More guards appeared at the end of the corridor. 6 of them. Marcus took cover behind a support beam, returned fire. 1 guard went down, then another, but they kept coming. His weapon beat. Low ammunition. Cole. Lynn shouted from her cell. Behind you. He spun. A KRYLL had come from a side passage, blade drawn. Marcus dropped the rifle, caught the blade arm, twisted. The KRYLL screamed. Marcus drove his knee into its midsection, grabbed its head, and slammed it into the control panel. The panel sparked, shorted out. All the cell barriers deactivated at once. Well, Marcus said, breathing hard. That works too. His team poured out of the cells, immediately moving to defensive positions. Hayes grabbed a fallen guard's weapon. Lynn found 2 combat knives and spun them in her hands like a trained killer. Which, to be fair, she was. Sit rep, Lynn demanded. Earth fleet is outside, Marcus said. They are negotiating our release. But I figured we should help them along. Where are the hostages? Main deck. That is our next stop. Hayes grinned through the blood on his face. Let us go ruin someone's day. They moved as a unit, falling back into combat formation without needing to communicate. Years of training, hundreds of missions. They knew each other's movements, anticipated each other's actions. The KRYLL tried to stop them. They really did. But there is something terrifying about watching Marines who are being captured, beaten, and left for dead suddenly turn the tables. Every movement was precise. Every shot counted. They advanced like a machine, unstoppable, relentless. By the time they reached the main deck, word had spread through the ship. The humans were loose. The humans were fighting back. And they were winning. The main deck doors were sealed. Reinforced titanium, designed to withstand explosive breaches. Marcus studied them for 3 seconds, then looked at Hayes. Got any ideas? Hayes cracked his neck. Yeah. The ventilation shaft. 20 meters that way. Lead directly into the deck from above. How do you know that? I read the schematics while you were getting your face rearranged, Hayes replied with a smirk. Someone has to be the brains of this operation. Lynn snorted. First time for everything. They moved quickly, following Hayes through a maze of corridors. The ship was strangely quiet now. Most of the KRYLL had either barricaded themselves on the main deck with the hostages or fled to escape pods. Smart choice, really. The ones who stayed were about to learn a very hard lesson about human determination. The ventilation shaft was exactly where Hayes said it would be. Marcus pried open the access panel, peered inside. Dark. Narrow. Perfect. Chen, you first. Marcus ordered. Scout ahead. Silent signals only. Chen nodded, slipped into the shaft like a shadow. The kid was barely 22, but he moved like a ghost. Special operations training before the Marines. Black Ops background. The kind of soldier who could infiltrate a target without anyone knowing he was there until it was too late. The rest of them followed. The shaft was cramped, forcing them to crawl single file. Marcus's shoulders scraped against the metal sides. Ahead, Chen moved with barely a sound. The kid was good. After what felt like an eternity but was probably only 5 minutes, Chen held up a fist. Stop signal. He pointed down. Through the ventilation grate, Marcus could see the main deck. 4 to 7 hostages sat in the center of the room, huddled together. Men, women, children, all terrified. Around them, 23 Cowello guards stood watch, weapons ready. At the far end of the deck, elevated on a platform, sat the leader, Raktos the Cruel. Marcus recognized him from intelligence briefings. A warlord who had terrorized the outer colony for 15 years, responsible for over 10,000 deaths. The price on his head could buy a small moon. Raktos was speaking, his voice amplified through the ship's speakers. Your Earth fleet thinks they can intimidate me. They think I will surrender because they have more ships. But they forget one simple fact. I have your people. I have your children. And if they fire on this ship, everyone dies. Marcus's jaw clenched. His hands tightened into fists. Lin leaned close, whispered directly into his ear. We need a plan. 23 guards. 4 of us. Bad odds. I have seen worse, Marcus whispered back. When? Last Tuesday. Despite the situation, Lin smiled. You are insane. Probably. Here's what we do. Chen takes out the guards on the left side. Silent kills. Hayes, you drop through that grate there. Draw their attention. Lin, you go right. I go center and straight for Raktos. That is a terrible plan, Hayes muttered. You got a better one. Silence. Thought so. On my mark. 3, 2. Marcus did not say one. He just moved. He kicked out the ventilation grate and dropped 12 feet to the deck below, landing in a crouch directly behind the KRYL guard. Before the creature could turn, Marcus had his arm around its throat, squeezing. The guard struggled for 3 seconds, then went limp. Marcus lowered it quietly to the floor. Around the room, chaos erupted. Chen had already taken out 2 guards, his combat knife flashing in the dim light. Hayes landed with a roar, immediately engaging 4 guards at once. Lin moved like a dancer, her stolen knives finding gaps in armor, striking at vital points. The hostages screamed. Some tried to run. Marcus shouted at them. Stay down. Get behind cover. Raktos stood on his platform, his 4 arms spreading wide. So, the human Marines, I heard you were all captured, beaten, broken. Marcus shot a guard who was aiming at a hostage. You heard wrong. No matter, Raktos continued. You are still just 4. We are still many. And you are still going to die here. You talk too much, Marcus said, firing again. Another guard dropped. It is a bad habit. He advanced toward the platform, covering ground in quick bursts. Guards tried to stop him. He shot one, disarmed another with a brutal strike to the wrist, and used that guard as a shield against incoming fire. The KRYLO's armor held for 3 shots, then failed. Marcus tossed the body aside and kept moving. Behind him, his team was decimating the remaining guards. Hayes had 3 of them on the ground, unconscious or dead. Lin had moved to protect the hostages, forming a defensive perimeter around them. Chen was everywhere and nowhere, striking from shadows, disappearing before anyone could respond. Raktos watched all of this with what Marcus could only describe as fascination. Interesting. Your species is more dangerous than the report suggested. You have no idea, Marcus replied, reaching the base of the platform. But still, Raktos continued, pulling out a massive blade from his belt. The weapon was nearly 4 feet long, serrated edges gleaming. You are just one human. Unarmed now. Your weapon is empty. Marcus glanced at his rifle. The ammo counter read 0. He tossed it aside. Do not need it. Raktos laughed. A deep, rumbling sound that echoed through the deck. You think you can fight me with your bare hands? I am twice your size, 4 times your strength. I have killed hundreds in personal combat. Marcus rolled his shoulders, loosening muscles. Yeah, but here's the thing about humans. We are stubborn. We do not know when to quit. And we really, really hate bullies. He charged. Raktos swung the blade in a wide arc. Marcus ducked under it, closed the distance, and drove his fist into the alien's midsection. It was like hitting a brick wall. Raktos barely flinched. The alien's lower right arm lashed out, catching Marcus across the chest and sending him sprawling. Pain exploded through his ribs, probably cracked at least 2. He rolled to his feet, ignoring the agony. Pathetic, Raktos sneered. Is this the best Earth has to offer? Marcus wiped blood from his mouth. Just getting warmed up. He came in again, this time feinting left before going right. Raktos fell for it, swung at empty air. Marcus grabbed the alien's upper left arm, used it as leverage to swing himself up, and delivered a devastating kick to Raktos' head. The alien staggered. Not bad, Raktos admitted, but not enough. The fight became a brutal exchange. Raktos had size and strength. Marcus had speed and technique. Every time Raktos swung that massive blade, Marcus was already moving, already countering. He targeted joints, weak points in the armor, vulnerable spots that years of combat experience had taught him to recognize. But Raktos was good, really good. One of his strikes connected with Marcus's shoulder, spinning him around. Another caught his leg, nearly dropping him. The alien was adapting, learning his patterns. Marcus's vision was starting to blur. Blood loss, fatigue, pain. His body was screaming at him to stop, to rest. But Marines do not stop. Not when lives depend on them. He saw an opening. Raktos overextended on a downward strike, putting too much weight forward. Marcus dodged, grabbed the blade arm with both hands, and kicked out hard at the alien's knee. Something crunched. Raktos bellowed in pain, stumbled. Marcus did not let go. He twisted the arm, applied pressure to the elbow joint, and felt it dislocate. The blade clattered to the floor. Raktos roared, tried to grab Marcus with his other arms. Marcus ducked under them, came up inside the alien's guard, and started hitting. Every punch was calculated. Solar plexus, throat, temple, locations where even armored aliens were vulnerable. Raktos tried to defend, but Marcus was relentless. He channeled every ounce of rage, every bit of frustration from the ambush, from seeing his team captured, from watching civilians cower in fear. He put it all into his fists. Raktos went down to one knee, then both knees. Marcus grabbed the alien's head with both hands and slammed it into the platform. Floor. Once. Twice. 3 times. On the 4th impact, Raktos stopped moving. The deck fell silent. The remaining KRYL guards had either fled or been subdued. The hostages stayed in shock. Marcus stood over Raktos' unconscious form, breathing hard, blood dripping from his knuckles. Hayes approached, limping slightly. Damn, Sarge. Remind me never to piss you off. Too late for that, Marcus muttered. Status. All hostages secure. 0 casualties on our side. Chen is rounding up the surrendering KRYL. Lin is coordinating with the fleet for extraction. As if on cue, Captain Rivera's voice came through the ship's communication system. Strike team, this is Vela. We are reading hostage vitals as stable. Well done. Boarding teams are en route. Sit tight. Marcus nodded, then promptly sat down on the deck. His legs just gave out. Everything hurt. Everything. But they had done it. Against impossible odds, they had won. A small girl, maybe 7 years old, approached him cautiously. She had tear tracks on her face but managed to smile. Thank you, she whispered. You saved us. Marcus tried to smile back, but his face hurt too much. Just doing my job, kid. Are you really a Marine? Yep. Marines are the toughest people in the galaxy, she said with absolute certainty. My dad told me so. Your dad sounds like a smart man. Lynn walked over, medical kit in hand. She started cleaning the cuts on Marcus's face without asking. You look terrible. Feel worse. That was the stupidest, most reckless thing I have ever seen, she continued. Fighting an alien warlord twice your size with just your hands. Worked, did it not? Pure luck. Skill, Marcus corrected. Training, and maybe a little bit of human stubbornness. Hayes laughed. Human stubbornness. That should be our species' motto. Better than most alternatives, Chen chimed in, joining them. The KRYLL are requesting asylum. They say they want to surrender to Earth forces rather than face charges from their own people. Apparently, losing to unarmed humans is considered extremely shameful in their culture. Marcus snorted. Good. Let them be ashamed. Maybe next time they will think twice before attacking civilians. The boarding teams arrived 15 minutes later. Medical personnel swarmed the hostages, checking for injuries, providing treatment. A medic tried to approach Marcus, but he waved them off. Check the civilians first. I can wait. Captain Rivera was with the second wave. She surveyed the deck, took in the unconscious KRLL, the rescued hostages, and a battered strike team. Her expression was unreadable. Sergeant Cole, she said formally. Marcus tried to stand, gave up halfway. Your orders were to wait for backup if the situation went sideways. Yes, You ignored those orders. Yes, Rivera was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. Excellent initiative. Sergeant, I will put you in for a commendation. All of you. Just doing our job, Captain. No, Rivera said firmly. You went above and beyond. You saved 4 to 7 lives today, against an enemy force that outnumbered you, using nothing but training and determination. She paused. The KRYLL sent a message to their homeworld. They are calling you the Bare-Hand Reaper. Apparently, word is spreading through the criminal networks. Humans are dangerous even without weapons. Marcus grinned despite the pain. Good. Let them spread that word far and wide. Maybe it will make the next group think twice before messing with Earth. Hayes clapped him on the shoulder, making Marcus wince. The Bare-Hand Reaper. I like it. Has a nice ring to it. I hate it, Marcus muttered. Too late, Lynn said cheerfully. It is already trending on the fleet networks. You are famous, Sarge. Great. Just what I needed. But secretly, Marcus did not mind. Let the galaxy know. Let every pirate, raider, and warlord hear the story. Humans do not need plasma rifles or energy swords to be dangerous. They have something better. Adaptability, determination, and 2 hands at evolution designed for both creating and destroying. The extraction took another hour. The hostages were evacuated first, then the prisoners, then finally the strike team. As Marcus was carried on a stretcher toward the shuttle, he looked back at the Morning Star one last time. They had boarded as a rescue team. They had left as legends. And somewhere in the galaxy, in dark corners where criminals gathered, a new story was being told. A warning, a cautionary tale about the species from Earth. Do not underestimate humans. Do not think their lack of natural weapons makes them weak. Because when you back them into a corner, when you threaten what they love, they become something far more dangerous than any predator. They become survivors, fighters, Marines, and they will show you exactly what bare hands were designed for.